Hey, and welcome back, everybody, to Sons and Shadows Cast, for the podcast that gets into the lost, the forgotten, and the canceled TV series, and the franchises they're loosely based off of. We're going ahead and we're getting started with War of the Worlds this time. That's right, we're going back to the classic 53 film, and we're also going to be talking about the 2005 film by Steven Spielberg and Tom Cruise. So let's get ready to remember, relive, and revisit. I am your alien overlord, Jeff.
And I'm your co-host, Kevin.
And I'm Will, the walking death machine.
Hey, at least you're not the little Dakota Fanning character in the '05 one running and screaming the whole time.
Dude, she's the epitome of every fear I have of what a kid could turn into if I had one. Shrieking, babbling. Yeah, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Tell me.
Yeah, that's pretty much kids in general. That's all three of mine.
That's why I have cats. I would lose my fucking mind. I'd leave it upstate and then I'd get arrested.
Well, to be fair, they were all going to live on a farm upstate in that movie.
Well, you might think that, but they all ended up in Boston, which is so much better.
A very great looking part of Boston, too.
Yeah, I mean, not to jump too far ahead, but like nothing in Boston was really that fucked up. Like, it was just very surprising. Like, upstate New York, the countryside was all tore up to shit.
But they wanted the juicy bodies.
I guess they're going after the rednecks.
Yeah, probably. But we can go ahead. We could actually do the reverse of what most people would think. We can start with the 2005 film, have fun with that one, and then we can get into the good one.
You know what? That sounds fair. Because I don't know how many times we could say, I hate it within a single podcast.
Yeah, we can go ahead and we can get started then.
And we end on a more uplifting note rather than a shitting on something note.
Well, other than how we all watched this on our rewatch for this, where we started with the classic and ended with the ended with the 2005 one anyway.
Well, I mean, it took us all quite a while to get through this one. And
yes,
this was my second viewing of the movie. I saw it, I think, in the theater when it came out and just had zero desire to ever see it again.
Boy, you were brave.
Yeah. I was like really kind of gambling that it was going to be a good flick.
I think we all did. Somehow it managed to succeed at the box office and netted over $600 million.
Steven Spielberg's name.
And Tom Cruise.
Yep.
You know, I'm curious as to how that still happens. Like, dude is still like a box office smash anytime his name is on a movie.
Relatively box office smash. He's not James Cameron level these days, but
yeah, I guess. But it's just like I'm not a big fan of his necessarily. Like he could be a very charitable person in real life, and that's right. Cool. But his characters, like I don't get a whole lot out of his characters, at least not outside of Tropic Thunder, anyway.
Right.
But like in this movie,
he made that.
Yeah, he was in that. Yes, he plays Les Grossman. Was that?
He's talking Tom Cruise. He's not talking.
I thought you were talking Steven Spielberg. I was like, what the fuck? That's a good movie. I enjoyed that. They were cool characters.
I think the last movie I saw Spielberg in was Austin Powers. Austin Powers 3. Yeah. The
last thing I saw Steven Spielberg in was an epic rap battle video where he was fighting all the other major directors for the last 60 years.
Oh shit. No, but his character in this movie, I'm not sure why they decided to go with a deadbeat dad.
Yeah.
Because that's not somebody that you'd ordinarily think of being as heroic. And he has moments of being completely irresponsible, a giant man-child, as a lot of deadbeat dads can be. But then it shows him really trying super hard to be a good dad. And you're just kind of like, well, that doesn't fit. Like, the character's didn't feel right to me.
Yeah, it was very unbalanced. It's either one or the other. It's not both. It's not good intentions, but he keeps screwing up. It's not, the other way where he's just completely devoid of any life or emotion for his kids and he has to bring them along anyway. It's like the character was not suited for Tom Cruise. And that's ultimately why I think this movie didn't work for me. I've never been the biggest Tom Cruise fan, but I've seen him do good work. I've seen him do good movies. Like,
sure.
Tropic Thunder, you got Top Gun. I mean, Minority Report, for crying out loud. I mean, the dude is very capable. So it's like something was sorely missing with his character in this. I don't blame Tom for this, but Steven Spielberg's direction on this for him was not okay. But Dakota Fanning, she did really good, despite not liking her character either.
Right, but well, I guess you weren't not supposed to like her, but I guess we're just crotchety people. She did a she did a good job.
Yeah,
she did a really good job.
I'll give her that.
The older brother was supposed to be the yin to her yang.
Yeah, no.
And they represent both sides of Tom Cruise's character. And really, like, the son was just a horrible fucking character.
He made no sense to me at all.
Running towards death rays.
Yeah, like, I need to be there. I need to see this. Why?
And within 15 seconds, the whole horizon is on fire, and you don't see him until the end of the fucking movie, already in Boston. Like, hey, Dad, I'm here. Yeah. What the flying fuck was that? That's a horrible twist. I mean, I'm not saying I need anything dark and depressing where he's dead.
I do.
But like, well, yeah, we know you will. But like, how I would have maybe done that is like, just leave it ambiguous. You don't ever know. He just, the giant death ray across the horizon, everything's gone. Just stick with it, for fuck's sake. Nothing has to be all happy all the time. It's not realistic.
Yeah, it was cliche, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Like, sickeningly so.
Right.
Like the end of Wayne's World with the super mega happy ending. Like, yeah.
So do you think any of them really had characters? Characters with depth, like anything to really, like you said, you couldn't root for them because they were like flip-flopping and like they made no sense. Like, I didn't really get any sense of any of them having any depth beyond like the paper thin nonsense that they're portraying.
Well, to your point, I was rooting for the aliens the entire movie.
I wanted them all to die. I thought they were all horrible people.
Well, if you're gonna do, I was thinking, like, I understand you're trying to recreate the 53 one or do it more based off of the book. You're trying, I don't know. I felt like this movie was just trying too hard to replicate instead of trying to do something new and refreshing. And you don't have to be so super happy with the ending. Yes, the ending stayed true with the bacteria killing the aliens, blah, blah, blah. But if you're trying to do something new, you got to bring depth. You got to bring real character. You got to do something more meaty with the freaking story. Because we'll get into the 53 one. That had religious overtones to it, but it didn't feel like it was, trying to be something it wasn't. It was, it accepted its role and it delivered something with a good pacing. And you were interested in the aliens, but you were also hoping that humanity, because our characters in the 53 one had that balance. They all had depth. For an hour and 28-minute movie, it accomplished 10 times more what this movie could do in 2 hours and 15 fucking minutes.
And tedious 2 hours and 15 fucking minutes. Oh my God.
And this was my first time watching it, everybody. Like, we usually do the routine of, when did you see this? What your memories are? No, we're getting right into this bullshit. I never watched this, never had any interest in it. But hey, we're going to be talking like, this is War of the Worlds month for us. Mars Attacks, everything like that. And so it's like, oh, I'll finally give it a crack. And I can't get those 2 hours and 15 minutes back of my life.
I told my wife we were all kind of having a "what have we done" sort of moment.
Yeah. Well, and I don't mean to like beat on a movie. I can criticize. I mean, there's good positives to the movie. It's not a lot, but like the special effects were really good. I thought the score was fantastic. The only thing I kind of felt at one point was when the alien was searching through the house with its telescope and everything. I'm like, did he watch The Abyss by James Cameron too many times? Because it was it was literally moving like the creature did in The Abyss, like through the hallways, through the doors and everything. I'm like, that's way too reminiscent to The Abyss rather than the original. So if you're trying to do something new with your own stamp on it, you're ripping off one of your colleagues who's actually on your level. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess they're on the same level.
At this point, I'm not James Cameron's biggest fan, but after watching this, I'm like, James Cameron at least still has a sense of consistency and coherency.
Yeah, he's doing 8 more Avatar movies. That's some consistency.
Jesus Christ.
Well, 4. But
I'm just saying people in Flint, Michigan still need clean water, and we're spending money on that fucking shit.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But at least you can expect something epic. And while the characters aren't that great and the stories are pretty basic, at least they're more than War of the Worlds was.
Yes.
Or artificial intelligence that Steven Spielberg did, or we don't have to go down that list.
Crystal Skull.
So here's a question. So do you think that it was kind of over stimulus with once the attack started happening, it was just like running, big things blowing up, special effects, CGI, people dying, mobs.
That is Tom Cruise's specialty in movies. Like, that is his signature touch.
Popcorn and candy, baby.
Like, just like Mission Impossible 2 is like a 2-hour hair commercial for him, like turning and smiling and looking out into the distance.
Oh, I thought that was a rock and wrestling video.
Movies like this or Minority Report, he's like physically hauling ass and being a rad specimen of human capabilities, which dude is. For as much as I'm not a big fan of those types of things, he's in fucking amazing shape.
Oh yeah.
But that is his signature in this, and unfortunately that's what they made this movie out to be. Like you said, is just running explosions, and it's running shots, long running shots. Like the only thing that you were missing was a parking shot. Like, we didn't need that much.
Oh, he parked when he was getting carjacked.
And that was stupid to me too.
Oh my God.
Run him the fuck over.
Well, you wouldn't be able to after a while.
Well, right.
They get stuck on so many bodies.
Yeah, once you get over the 30th one, I mean, I don't know anything about that kind of thing. I'm just saying.
No.
They pile up and you get stuck. But no, I mean, he would have gotten shot or killed for that car very fast, because it's very unbelievable that all those people there didn't have a single fucking gun.
Well, that one guy did eventually.
And then they took his gun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that other guy had, the guy that had the automatic pistol.
The one guy.
Yeah.
That finally was like, you know what? Fuck it.
Of like a crowd of like 400 people, it's like only 2 people have guns. Are you really sure about that? Well, you got Steven Spielberg, who doesn't like guns in his movies. Just back at his revisions on E.T., where he takes all the guns out of all of the federal agents' hands. Just
turns them into walkie-talkies.
Yeah.
Or walkie-talkies. That's what they were.
Yeah, I don't think I would have really felt the same menace of the federal agents when I was a kid if they just were running around with walkie-talkies pointing them.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah. Look at these guys, Steven Spielberg and George Lucas. I mean, they made Crystal Skull together. They both have done shit jobs with their old movies. I mean, look at Steven Spielberg. He did Ready Player One, for Christ's sake.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. He took an Ernest Cline novel to begin with, and then that just made a lot of money off of nostalgia bullshit, and then made the book's bad, but at least the book's interesting.
That movie made money because of Michael J. Nelson.
Right.
Yeah. A lot of people had to buy copies so they could watch the riff tracks. It's one of the better riff tracks for sure.
Well, the book too. Everybody bought the book so they could be part of Mike and Connor's book club.
Oh yeah, I was right there with them right from the start. Love that podcast. 372 pages.
Everybody check that out. That's a fun one.
Absolutely. You will not. If you like books and you like bad movies and people riffing on bad movies, you will not be disappointed.
No, that's true. That's that's more than true. But getting back to Spielberg's signature moves and the running through the streets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
A lot of that came from 9/11 footage.
Right.
Like he took a lot of that from 9/11 all the way down to the ash of all the people being covered, caked to Tom Cruise and him freaking out about it. So, I mean, little things like that I appreciated.
Oh, yeah, me too.
But at the same time, we are living in a post 9/11 world, just post 9/11 world when this movie happened. And it shows all these New Yorkers just standing around when some crazy shit's happening. Like, I'm pretty sure they know to get the fuck out of Dodge at this point. Like, we all do. We all know, like, get the fuck out.
No, let's just stand around, make a perfect circle, and then watch whatever's happening to the ground just keep happening. Keep happening. Oh, it's bringing a building down. It's still happening. Oh, shit. Maybe I should run now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
In the original book, did the aliens already have their war machines here?
No.
Yeah, I was going to say that's one of the stupidest fucking parts.
Well, that they've been slumbering under the earth for like fucking how many hundreds, thousands, millions of years?
Yeah, well, no, because the aliens were teleporting down into the lightning bolts, and the war machines were already here waiting.
In the original radio broadcast and the 1953 movie, they actually took off from Mars. Like there was something
right
to the effect of a solar flare, but it came from Mars, and there was like 3 flares headed towards Earth.
Yeah, and they landed in the meteorite. Yeah.
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 And that's the way I believe it happened in the novel. I may be mistaken.
I think, was there a novel?
Yes.
Yeah, 1898 okay. H.G. Wells.
Okay.
But like for this one, when I was watching this, I picked up that the lightning strikes were uncovering what was already in the ground, and they were just awakening them. So it's not they came and transported through the lightning. It was something was creating the lightning that was then waking up what was already here. And then, so that actually brings up a pretty good question for me was at the end, bacteria killed them. Earth bacteria. They've been sleeping here for millions of years and they haven't absorbed that? What the flying fuck is this?
No, they did show them teleporting down in the lightning.
Oh, I guess I missed that.
Yeah, amazingly, the news reporter that was there, that wasn't actually there, got it like frame by frame. Recording, and it shows like them in a some like cocoon that shot them straight down into the concrete through the electricity.
Oh, okay. I guess I missed that part.
But they didn't come out into the air until they started terraforming.
Yeah,
when they were feeding off of us, and that's where the main characters are stuck in the house or in the basements.
Mm-hmm.
The basement scene.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Tim Robbins.
See, and that was another thing. I don't like Tim Robbins as a person. I think he's a horrible piece of shit. Like,
you sure seem like it.
Yeah, he did him. He played himself.
He could be a phenomenal actor.
Yes, he can.
Very much can. But he himself is kind of a hypocrite douchebag. So, and again, this is a post 9/11 movie, and he and Susan Sarandon have both gone out publicly, even in the Oscars, going out so far as to call soldiers baby killers and shit.
Yeah.
Well, what's he fucking playing in this movie? Anyway,
we digress.
Yeah, sorry about that, y'all.
He had some sick, fucked up plans for that little girl, for Dakota Fanning, if he'd won the fight.
I don't know that he did, though.
The way he was creepily talking to her away from the dad, like, I had a little girl.
Oh, yeah, maybe so.
That was probably the one scene in the movie I actually rooted for Tom Cruise when he closed the door behind him and then he took care of business. I'm like, okay, there's a mark.
I like Tom Cruise's character. I dislike Tom Cruise's character less than I dislike Tim Robbins' character. So the less disliked person won. So
yeah, Yeah, once Tim Robbins' character got introduced, the movie just really nosedived from there for me. I'm like, okay, I was not digging this a whole lot, but I was still kind of paying attention. Then Tim Robbins showed up and I'm like, oh God. And it just kept getting worse. I'm like, I'm checked out, but I'll finish watching.
Okay, so actually speaking of the basement scene, that is a part where they slow down the constant running, CGI, explosion. And it just brings the movie to a crawl. And it crawls along for 45 minutes, maybe more.
For the last third of the movie.
Yeah, and it's just like we were saying, there's no need for it. Like, I think I would have rather had another half hour, 45 minutes of them looking at things and then running and explosions and then stopping to look at things. Because there's a lot of looking at things shots in this movie, which I guess is a Steven Spielberg thing.
Yeah, instead of actually doing something about the fucking alien menace. You don't see much of like the battle scenes. You just see one battle scene and then you got the last one at the very end where they take out the ships.
Like, yeah.
And see, that's ultimately where I didn't like this movie. I mean, you take away Cruise, you take away Spielberg and all that shit, Tim Robbins. This movie should have shown humanity losing, not a chance.
Yeah.
No military capabilities. Like they should have been wiped out graphically and fast. That's how it happened. It's Tim Robbins is the one that delivers the line. There's no more. This is no more of a war than
an extermination.
Yeah, it's basically a boot versus an ant. It's not a war. And he says man versus maggots, which is really stupid and was, I guess, foreshadowing that he's crazy.
Yeah, no shit.
But or maybe his desire to be underground or something, or maggots underground.
Mayhaps. But like this could have been so much better by showing how effectively man was being wiped out, because that's what there's no hope for man. Man is completely ineffective and useless against the Martian threat. And that's
then the whole blood sucking thing would have been a lot more menacing, because then it's like we're just being rounded up and sucked dry after like everything we could have fought with is gone and we have no hope.
Yeah, and they started to show that as far as us being necessary for food and terraforming.
Right.
I thought that was a neat twist. I mean, at least it was something in this movie. It was something interesting.
That was from the book, I believe. It was the fact that they need us for food.
I believe that. It was a cool part. I believe that. I don't think Steven Spielberg came up with that on his own.
No.
Mr. Aliens and fucking Indiana Jones.
Don't get me started on Crystal Skull, please.
But then it ends the way that the book and the original movie does, with, of course, the alien getting sick by being in our air and then finally crashing in the ship and flopping out. But they changed it here where it just made their shields drop.
Right.
And so the army was able to like start blowing them the fuck up and shit. It's like, that's no.
There shouldn't have been any army.
You're not effective. Your weapons don't fucking work. Not against the metal, not against the fucking shields. And they got that very wrong in this movie. And that's one of the things that kind of made my eye twitch.
No, they wanted to upload a computer virus to the mothership and then be able to blow it up from that point.
Only if it runs Apple. If it runs Mac OS,
it's totally screwed. I make the joke, but Independence Day did a better job being War of the Worlds than this did.
Oh my God, it did. Independence Day was interesting. It was fun to watch.
Yeah.
This is not fun to watch.
Yeah, hot take. Independence Day is the better version of this film.
Yeah, but Mars Attacks is the better version of every fucking invasion film.
Right.
They borrowed heavily from ID4 in this movie. Having to go up inside the ship to blow them up. That was like blatantly ripped off.
Oh God, I've seen that in like 9 other like sci-fi projects that have done that too.
Yeah, like they did that. Men in Black ended the same fucking way.
Yeah, I've seen it in Stargate. I've seen it in Star Trek, which is years before these movies.
The only movie that did that, and I thoroughly loved it was Guardians of the Galaxy 2, where Drax jumps inside the fucking monster. like Jonah versus the fucking whale, and he thinks he's beating its ass, but it's impervious from the inside.
Yeah.
Hey, in Sharknado, what's his name? The other guy from Ian Ziering, the other guy from 90210, flies into a shark with a chainsaw that's flying down at him, and that comes out, like, slices his way out. That's pretty epic.
I have not seen those movies.
Well, they're amazing riff tracks, and they're riff tracks live recordings too. They're phenomenal.
That's probably the only way I could watch those. They're Asylum movies, so I can't handle those.
The point of watching them unriffed is watching all the cameos get killed.
Yeah, I know Chris Jericho's in like Sharknado 4 or 5 or something, I think.
That's true. I love seeing that Star Trek jackass and Sharknado 2 get eaten on the fucking airplane. Well, what's his name? The little kid asshole.
Wesley?
Will Wheaton. I love seeing him get chomped.
And then Kurt Angle shows up as a firefighter later on in that movie too.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Yeah. The biggest fucking fire chief you've ever goddamn seen, basically.
Absolutely.
And those are fun movies again. Those are fun movies. This isn't fun.
No, this wasn't.
This is a chore.
Yeah.
They tried to make a drama inside of an action flick, and it just didn't work. You don't care about their family turmoil.
No,
it's so tedious.
You don't see the fucking mom for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
So there's no juxtaposition of her, what she's dealing with, because she's fucking pregnant with her douchebag of a husband too. It's like, god damn, is nobody fucking likable in this movie? Like, you want to root for the kids at the minimum, and you can't.
No.
And the douchebag husband survives too. They didn't even go for that opportunity.
Yeah, at least fucking San Andreas had Ian Groford fucking get killed.
They should have gone the mist route and everybody died.
Oh, I would have loved that. I love that movie, by the way, especially the director's cut in black and white.
Darabont? Yeah.
But yeah, like, and even the biggest disappointment of all of the ending wasn't just so much the fact that the military was the ones that, got to be looking like the good guys and the heroes and shit, because that's what people like Spielberg and Michael Bay like to do. They get in good with the military by making them look good.
Michael Bay.
Yeah.
I would have taken a Michael Bay version of this over Spielberg, to be honest with you.
Maybe. Yeah.
Because at least the explosions and the effects would have been fucking phenomenal.
Then there probably would have been some TNA.
Some real rock music, maybe. And while they had the banger of a car of a Mustang at the beginning, you never fucking saw it again.
Yeah. Well, I think that was for insurance purposes.
Yeah.
But
don't want to crash that into a light pole.
No, the biggest disappointment of all is when the alien fucking finally flops out of the war machine and dies at the end of this movie.
They couldn't do one practical fucking effect.
Exactly. It was CG.
It was horrible CG. Even at the time, it was horrible CG.
Yeah.
And then jumping ahead to the first movie, when we see the Martian in that flick, it's practical effects. It's a real fucking dude inside of a big Martian suit.
Yep.
And they made it slimy looking and pulsating.
Yeah.
Like it reaches out to grab Ann Robinson's shoulder, and the arm is pulsating while it's fucking reaching out at her. And you're just like, that made you fucking terrified. There was nothing in this movie that was remotely frightening.
Oh, no. Not a thing. And that was the other thing. Like, they're using us as blood pools and like as just big bags of like fertilizer, pretty much. And they don't even make that scary.
Not really.
Like, there's no real like fright with it. There's no real horror. It's just kind of like, oh, Tim Robbins is freaking out. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess that's blood.
Steven Spielberg can't do horror. He just can't.
Well, Universal won't let him, probably.
Well, he doesn't probably want to. I mean, the closest thing he ever got to a horror film was Jaws.
Yeah. Which
even that's not really horror.
So, and then it got even tackier at the end, just before you see the son is still alive. because when they get to the rich asshole's fucking house or the mom's place in Boston, her parents are Gene Barry and Anne Robinson. And you're just kind of like, gosh, I wish I would have seen them throughout the rest of this movie.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't even have a speaking role. And Anne, she reprised the role of Sylvia in the TV series as well.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's the original is better. Like,
hey, let's get into it.
Yeah, I'm tired of saying I hate this.
Not good, but thank you, George Pal, because this thing was bitching, and I had a fun time, even with all the religious overtones.
Yeah. And I don't think those overtones were in the book at all. The book was the Martian invasion was kind of like colonialism.
Right.
And H.G. Wells is trying to show how horrible colonialism is. It's basically an eradication of culture.
Yep.
And a lot of people in Britain didn't like that, of course, because that was their might. That was their thing.
Long live the Empire.
Sun never sets.
Yeah. And the 53 movie, it took a few creative licensing.
Yeah.
But it was so good at the same time that H.G. Wells' estate gave him the rights to distribute it, for one thing. And then they gave him his choice of any other of his properties to work on. So he's like, well, give me the time machine.
Yes.
Like, they didn't charge him for it. They loved this movie so fucking much.
Because he took care and he kept the spirit alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He really did. And I think because originally in the script, Sylvia and Dr. Forrester were supposed to be engaged.
Right.
And by the time that they got to the final scenes, they just wrote out their romance altogether, just about.
Yeah.
Like he cared about her.
Yeah.
But they don't have a romantic relationship at that point.
Right.
You can see something budding, but it's not like the cliche that they have nowadays where like, oh, they end up in a romantic relationship by the end of the movie because they're in something kind of dramatic together. Obviously, this relationship will last forever and they'll get married.
Yeah, because they got to hook up by the end of the first act, so you actually care that they have an interest in each other.
Yeah.
But this movie started out so organically and grew in its terror organically. Like you're seeing Southern California long before Southern California is what it is today.
Oh no, but LA is still burning since 1953. It's still up in flames. So hey, some things they may change, but they always stay the same.
That's true. LA will forever smell like a giant tire fire.
Yeah.
But it takes you to basically any town USA where like it's the whitest city you've ever fucking seen. Like they go square dancing and everyone says golly and they drink Coca-Cola.
Hello, 1953.
Golly.
Yeah, it was neat looking back on it, being a shitty civilization that we are now.
Right.
Like seeing how ignorant the people were when the meteors fell. Like, hey, let's go look at it. We'll have a fucking picnic too. There was people out taking pictures, picnicking, all sorts of shit, making it an event.
They're planning to sell tickets, I think, right?
Yeah, the tourism trade was going to boom.
Yeah, just like Gorgo. Here's a fucking monster. Let's sell tickets to it.
Yeah.
Hey, capitalist. At that time, capitalism was running rampant. At least they didn't go down the communist route.
Yeah, I don't think that would have flown in the 1950s.
No, well,
yes and no.
We'll save it for later, but the TV series gets more into what the 50s was like with the Red Scare.
Yeah.
But this was neat the way it grew. I mean, again, keeping with the tradition of the Martian 3, it was 3 people that try to approach it at first and get cooked.
Yes.
And the special effects that they used seem outdated now, but at the time, this was like state-of-the-art shit. Nobody had ever seen nothing like that before.
Not even James Bond was doing shit like this, just to put it in perspective.
Yeah, not even Batman in 66 like showed them turning into dust like they do in this movie. It was just like a pop of edit of camera and they were dust. But this, I mean, it shows the heat rays working quite effectively.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not CGI dust. They really have like dust people just like spread out on the fucking ground.
Hey, kudos to the people that for making that look even remotely close.
Yes.
They could have just left a pile of sand, like 3 next to each other, and not just done like the outline.
Yeah, like they had hands, feet, it was everything.
They put a lot of effort into this movie, you can tell, and I don't think you could say that about the 2005 other than the CGI people and Tom Cruise and people running.
Probably, yeah.
I was gonna say, like, I mean, that's kind of inherent with when you're doing practical effects. And I wonder if that's something that's been kind of wasn't evident back in 2005, where people were more comfortable working with CGI and more comfortable acting with CGI involved rather than just running from a big screen of CGI.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, by that point, special effects were getting better, but Tom Cruise was no stranger to them. So I don't know. At least the 53 one, they did all the work. All the visual effects were sleight of hand. It was no CGI. Yeah. Like I did like the dome over the alien ships as their shield, because I know what kind of dome that is. That's a dome for like what you put a pocket watch in or a small figurine, something like that. My grandfather had one where you could actually hang like 2 or 3 like pocket watches from. You put the little glass dome over it, and it keeps them like dust free. So when I saw that, I'm like, I think I know how they did that, but I don't know how they shot it. But at least I recognize that shape. I'm like, that's really clever, but there's a lot going on, and how they kept that straight and kept it looking good. Wow.
How did they do the death rays? It looked like there's a flare involved.
It was sparks, welding sparks.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because you can get that by doing that.
That's really cool.
Basically putting metal up against a grinding wheel too.
Yeah, you could do it that way.
Yeah. This, I believe, was welding.
Yeah.
And then the sound effects that they used, they pulled out some really nifty tricks for the Follies in this movie. A lot of it was dual layering of sounds that they hadn't done before.
Right.
And then playing sounds backwards. And the sound, the pew pew sound of the fucking, yes, this is the first movie that utilized pew 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 pew. Those sounds were created by 3 electric guitars. They had a drill going up the strings backwards, or they played it backwards, but it was basically the very first pick slide on an electric guitar.
Yep.
And I was like, son of a bitch. That's fucking rad. They invented the pick slide.
That was really cool. I was getting a kick out of all the sounds and special effects in this movie.
Was this movie really advanced for the time, I'm thinking?
I would say so.
Yeah. Because it took them 25 years just about to make this movie. Like Paramount secured the rights in 1925, and Cecil B. DeMille was supposed to direct the movie. And that got out, or that he fell out of that. And then in 1930s, around the 1930s or whatever. Wait, is that right? Anyway, they wanted to give it to Hitchcock after that. And Hitchcock dropped out. And then, of course, George Pell got it. Yep. And he was friends with Cecil B. DeMille. So at the movie theater in the movie, you see Cecil B. DeMille movies on the marquee. So, I mean, it was all still very close for how many people were trying to make this movie, and for so long. I mean, the special effects weren't there when they first secured the rights. They really weren't.
No.
No.
And even by comparison, The Day the Earth Stood Still was only a couple years before it, and it was not nearly as grand as this was.
Yeah, like they gave him a lot of money to fuck with shit. I want to say a third of it was all on the special effects.
It'd have to be.
Yeah, at least a third. And then each of the Martian warships were being suspended by 20 different wires. And like some of them controlled the head, some of them controlled the wing, some of them controlled the whole body that made it fly. It was just really, really neat.
Right.
And the machines were all made out of copper and then donated to a fucking Boy Scout copper drive. So they don't exist anymore. They got melted down for fucking whatever.
Oh man, if they had thought far enough ahead to preserve some things like that, they would make so much bank now.
Holy shit, something that big and that valuable intellectually.
Well, this movie is part of the film registry now as of 2010.
Yeah, I believe so.
And I was talking to a couple of friends on Twitter about it, and even Dr. Forrester, but we'll get into that later.
Well, I just wanted to point out, like, of all, we, by comparison to the acting, all the acting in this movie is actually pretty good. Sylvia at times can be a bit pushing it for me, and she's like way over the top, but at least there was something in here to keep her slightly interesting. And so at least all the characters in this were at least relatable, enjoyable. And even like the little bit guys who died, like the three guys, we got to know them for at least a couple minutes before they died. So all the characterizations and all the performances, I thought they were all pretty good by comparison.
Even the bit guys were entertaining characters and had substance to them versus the 2005.
Oh yeah, even the sheriff's deputy who sat down to eat a fish sandwich with the scientist at the beginning was just like, hey, I'll sit down and eat with you guys, you're all pretty cool. And then it's like, all you need is like 3 minutes and you already give a shit about all four of those people. Like, it's not rocket science.
No, like there's no unlikable characters in the 1953 movie. It's like the complete opposite of the 2005. And I remembered what I was saying. This particular film being part of the 2000 or the American Film Registry is important, and it's stupid that it took that long, because this is probably one of the most significant movies in the 20th century.
Yeah.
Sci-fi was a thing, of course, but this completely redefined what sci-fi would end up being on the big screen.
Oh yeah, it did.
It laid a blueprint for invasion movies,
which would be replicated throughout the decades. Like you can't go without saying, like, even in the 80s you got Invaders from Mars by Tobe Hooper, which is, say what you will about the movie, but it's fun and it's a little more horror based.
I don't think I've actually seen that. Like, I remember seeing the video, but I don't ever remember seeing it, actually renting it.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's actually pretty enjoyable. I wouldn't say it's like a 10 out of 10 film or anything like that, but you'd probably get a kick out of it. But then you also got, like, Mars Attacks, you got Independence Day. It's like every 15 years or so you could get a decent alien invasion sort of style movie.
Oh, speaking of which, notice in the 2005 version, these are just aliens. They're not Martians.
Yep.
That's true.
They changed them to be from somewhere else instead of Mars, because we now know that there's no life on Mars. Like, really?
But they could have been underground on Mars.
Like, have you all never read a fucking DC comic book with the Martian Manhunter and their underground caverns and shit?
Yeah. Well, Red Planet, Mission to Mars. I mean, John Carpenter.
Total Recall.
John Carpenter's Ghosts of Mars. Like, what the fuck? You can do Mars. You can actually bring it back into being cool. I mean,
yeah, like that's kind of dumb.
Yeah, I didn't like that. Yeah, no. And last thing I'll say about the 05 one is the biggest crime was the misuse of Morgan Freeman's narration.
Oh my god.
The narration in the 53 one was a lot more fun because, quite frankly, it was at the right times and right points to actually bring attention to what needed to have attention.
Yes. And here's my thing about the narration. This all started with Orson Welles.
Yep.
His radio broadcast in 1938 was the most iconic and prolific prank ever pulled in human history since the fucking Trojan horse.
Bar none, never been replicated again.
Yeah. Closest thing I could say is dipshits thinking the Blair Witch Project was real.
Yeah, seriously.
But his narration was so fucking intense, so perfect that they tried to mimic it in both movies, and they didn't do. They can't. Not even Morgan Freeman. I really think, and people are going to roll their eyes when I say this, they should have gotten Maurice LaMarche.
That would have been all right.
I would have loved to hear him in one of the movies, or not one of the movies, in the 2005 movie. Like he's played Orson Welles in fucking Ed Wood.
Yep.
His Pinky is definitely that fucking character. I would have liked to see that homage, but they didn't give it necessarily. I mean, they offered directing roles initially to Orson Welles, and he wanted nothing to do with it.
Right.
He was a very strange man.
Yeah, that's a whole different combo for Orson, but like, love that original radio version, and the complete panic he created with that was, I mean, I know people think like that shit's goofy. I could see right through that today. Well, no, you're talking back in the 30s when nobody really, they took advantage of the medium. All there was radio. There was no TV. There was no internet. I know, no internet. For movies, it was very bare bones, basic, standard movies. They weren't doing anything remotely close to this kind of level. It was radio programs was the thing. And this, its competition was what? The Shadow, The Phantom, Little Orphan Annie on the radio. Like, you got something like this and people are like, what the fuck is going on, dude?
Well, the neat thing is like, if you weren't there for the first 30 seconds at best of the radio broadcast, like if you tuned in late, you thought you were listening. Late. Yeah, like they say, and now a radio or a play of Orson or H.G. Wells's War of the Worlds.
Right.
And then it goes into music. So like if you didn't get that one intro line, you came into music and then hearing a news broadcast interrupt talking about the flares on Mars. And then it grows organically from there back to the song. Here's the news, back to the song. Oh my God, the news is now opening up. The craters or things are now opening up. We're seeing life come out. The military's getting killed. And then the reporter just abruptly dies. Like the whole feed dies. And that was freaking people the fuck out in 38.
Yeah, I mean,
1938,
you've got World War II on the horizon. You've got war in Europe.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. There were grandpas going out with their World War I fucking their doughboy helmets and shit.
Right.
And their fucking carbines, like looking for Martians out in the air. Like people were seriously freaked out thinking the Martians were landing.
Right.
And it wasn't until the second act where you realized that, okay, now we're hearing a play.
Right.
And they had to apologize to people.
Yeah, that was headlines for like years.
And say trick or treat.
Gotcha.
Like I was listening to it the other night, and I don't think I've heard it since I was a little kid.
Yeah, me too.
And I was laughing so hard. Like the worst things the worst things were happening. Like again, the reporter, the feed just completely dying. And I'd be laughing hysterically because all I could think of is people freaking out, like attached to their radios, like, what's happening?
Oh, yeah. I can just see it now. I mean, I've seen pictures like back when I was like in college with my film history class, and we had to listen to this as part of that. And then we had to watch the original War of the Worlds. And it was just like, holy crap, that's crazy. And so you saw like some of these other pictures in association with it of people like with their mouths open and like screaming, and like the freeze frame of like actual family photos of like, I gotta take a picture of my kids because this is too hilarious, and like everybody's freaking out.
Well, I told Trace, I'm like, I want to find these fucking photos, but I only found one. And it was this old man with like an elephant rifle looking fucking shotgun that Burt would have.
I was gonna say Burt Gummer style.
Yeah, and I think I sent you the picture, and we'll show it online on the Facebook group and all. But like this guy, this little old man, and his fucking gun was bigger than he is.
Yeah.
But all I could find was like newspaper clippings and shit. Like, unfortunately, we just weren't there yet to have like news reporters out taking pictures of people doing shit.
Yeah, right.
But I would have loved to have seen that. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in somebody's house and just see the terror in the entire community growing.
Right. I'd also say while we're talking about all of this, a thing I did like was the aliens did have like an actual plan and strategy for taking everything out. They were actually going in specific like flight patterns, going in and out and everything. And they actually had a plan of attack other than just, oh, we landed. Oh, time to just hit everything in sight. They were actually going like quadrant by quadrant. It was very strategic and it wasn't so erratic. So it felt like, like humans could kind of see what was going on and maybe we got a chance, even though it proved like totally not happening. The atomic bomb didn't work. Nothing freaking worked. And ultimately it was the Earth defending itself that won out, even though everybody is saying, praise God, God planted this bacteria on Earth for this very specific reason to take out these aliens. It's like, but if you believe in God, didn't he create the aliens too? Just saying.
Speaking of the nuclear weapon, given this is the 1950s, what kind of commentary do you think that was making on nuclear arms proliferation and everything?
And we got the biggest and the best.
Yeah.
But it did nothing still.
Well, see, that's where Pal succeeded in pushing the plot of War of the Worlds, where Spielberg failed. He specifically chose to have the A-bomb dropped on the Martians to show that our greatest weapon is nothing. All we did was hurt ourselves by dropping it.
What would have been funny is if that proved to be the pissed off point when the aliens just went into overdrive, started killing everybody on site then.
Motherfucker.
What? You just trying to do that to us? Okay, y'all dead now.
You dirty sons of bitches.
Scorched earth policy.
Dirty sons of bitches. But the one lines, speaking of
oh God, the dialogue was great.
Yeah. From the moment the invaders arrived, breathed our air, ate and drank, they were doomed.
Yeah, they had our booze.
They were undone. Our booze. They were undone, destroyed, after all of man's weapons and devices had failed, by the tiniest of creatures that God in his infinite wisdom put upon this earth. That sounds fantastic. It's like prose. It really is like prose. But George Pal made it a little bit more factual. And I'm not an unspiritual person or anything like that, but I am a very pessimistic person when it comes to joking about things.
Yep.
And so it's like it shows Gene Barry or Dr. Forrester going to 3 different churches, because again, 3 is the magic number for these films.
Oh.
And the first 2 churches were Catholic churches, I believe. And then he goes to a Protestant church and there he finds Sylvia.
Wow.
I never caught that actually.
And they're all sitting there praying and shit. And all I could think of was Hannibal Lecter telling Will Graham, God dropped a roof on top of a church filled with his parishioners the other day. So I was laughing about that. And then when, you have the scene where they're coming towards the Protestant church and then the ship falls and it's like rainbow happy ending. Like all I could think of was, because that's what being a Protestant is all about. Like you could wear condoms and you can kill Martians. Hooray!
It was the Protestant bacteria that won the day.
That's right. That's what Martin Luther was doing when he nailed those fucking 13 articles to the church.
Yeah, it was all planned. He was better than Nostradamus.
That's right. But no, it's those scenes were fine. They were fine. I mean, there are certain things in the movie that doesn't age well in today's standards. That would be one of them, but you get over it. It's that happens. The only thing that happened in the filming of the original movie that probably wouldn't get away with today is 2 things. One is the soldier that was on fire during the initial attack. He actually got burned all over because they didn't take proper measures.
Nope, they did not.
And the second thing was one of the three guys that got cooked at the beginning, the Hispanic gentleman, was a white dude in brown face. And you're like,
oh, I missed that.
Oh, snap.
Ooh, pretty soon, John Wayne's going to come out as an Asian person next.
Oops.
But yeah, like that shit wouldn't fly anymore, fortunately. But other than that, the movie was solid. It was a solid flick, and it kept the theme that, for as mighty as we think we are, we're nothing, not even compared to a virus. And we've just recently seen that man falls to a virus quite easily.
Oh yeah.
And as a society, we can decay very easily. Like we do it every day now. Even within simple politics, we decay as a society. Now, an invasion from space, that would fucking blow people's minds.
Yeah, half the planet would freak out. The other half would just crawl into a hole and be like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, like, and the introduction, or the first time you see the ships land in Mars Attacks, that giant crowd, the diversity of all those people is really what I think you'd see. You'd see the military there. You'd see the aggression, and then you'd see the fucking hippies with their doves and whatnot in the back.
Yeah, other than the priest who goes and tries to talk to him.
Oh god.
That scene, God bless that fucking scene. I love it great. So much. It is so powerful that the priest gives his niece away to Clayton to take care of, which Clayton's wrong like 90% of the fucking movie.
God, no kidding.
And they spoof that in Mars Attacks too, with fucking James Bond's character talking about how the Martians would actually be peaceful and this and that.
Yeah.
But he keeps trying to tell the military, you should try to talk to them first. You should try to let them know we're a peaceful race. And the military is hearing no part of it. And so before they could start their assault, he walks across the field towards the rising ships. And he's showing them the Bible and basically saying he's coming in peace and hello. And they just cook his ass right there.
It's like, oh, snap.
Morally, was he right? Absolutely. Practically, was he right? Fuck no.
Yeah.
He was kind of the sacrificial lamb to, they did not come in peace. We are leaving in pieces.
Yeah, right. So, like, it's a very powerful scene, but gosh, boy, was that guy stupid.
Well, and one of my last thoughts on this movie is, like, for all of the themes and all the messages that were in this, it's a fun movie. You can just sit back, relax. Hell, you could have a couple of drinks. You could have your, partake in whatever you partake in and really enjoy this movie. Hell, you could do a freaking drinking game with this movie, whether it's soda or real booze. Like, you can go down the lines of, like, all the lines that could be considered dirty, like, and just have a good time watching this movie and just shut your brain off. There's not too much to think about. There's just enough to tickle that brain if you want that. And this is a rare film that could hit that balance. I mentioned The Day the Earth Stood Still. That thing is so serious that it doesn't really connect like this one does. And that's why this one was a success.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a big fan of overly religious stuff, but it's not like a sledgehammer, like that they're hammering home the entire movie. Like, it's there. It seemed to me more it's just like a plot device, like something. I mean, the country was a lot more heavily religious at the time.
Oh yeah.
Just seemed like something was part of the movie organically at the time to me.
Yes, it fit the country at the time. We didn't have the diversity that we do now.
Or the split beds that your mom and dad had to sleep in.
Yeah, right.
All right, Kevin, are we about ready to hit up some social media?
I think so. Let me see here. We had a couple good responses. We asked people what they remembered and what they thought about the two different versions of War of the Worlds. And the first is our friend Steve Slater from Facebook. Skeeter says, the original was a good, corny, classic, scary, cult classic movie. I've always enjoyed watching the original. The 2005 version was also good, but I hate Tom Cruise, like capitalized hate Tom Cruise. The story and the special effects were great, but once again, Tom Cruise ruined it for me. Yeah, I'll give you that, Skeeter.
He's ruined a few movies for me too, so
yeah.
I'm with you, buddy. Like Interview with a Vampire, like ugh. I know. Don't get Kevin started.
Didn't I shit on that last episode?
Yes, you did. Call back.
Oh, and then Eric from Film Lore said on Twitter, I was 7 or 8. My parents had rented the 53 version. I remembered that I tried to watch it, but the moment that periscope came out of the cylinder, I hid behind the sofa, and my obsession with science fiction and my healthy fear of UFOs was born. That, brother, I tell you what, again, that's one of the scariest scenes and most important scenes in cinema history. Like, that changed not only science fiction, but suspense and horror at the same time.
Yeah.
And we may not look at it as much now, but truly it is an effective piece of film. Watching it objectively, you can feel terror, you can feel emotion, you can feel afraid for the main characters, and you can get emotionally invested in them. You couldn't really do that with any of them in the 2005 flick.
Right.
Not at all. There's nothing to be emotionally invested in.
Exactly.
Yep. And then my good buddy Rex Thrillhouse says on Twitter, but Spielberg's picture had the death ray that turned humans into pants.
Let me get the iron for the film.
And at first I thought he was joking.
Oh no.
And I watched it again, and I told him, like, brother, I thought you were joking. There is a scene where, like, you see people's pants flying everywhere as they're getting cooked.
Yeah, all the clothes, yeah.
Yeah, and then you just see, like, pants floating down from the sky on Tom Cruise. At first, I'm like, is that ashes of people falling down?
I had to rewind that myself. Like, I didn't see this comment until, like, just now. And I remember watching, like, what the hell is floating around him? And then I realized it was close. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And I was like, holy shit. And they even pointed that out on a Master Pancake riffing of it.
Oh, okay.
And I was kind of like, holy shit. Well, for one thing, I missed that a couple months ago. And I don't know how. And then I'm just like, how did I miss, like, the fucking clothes exploding everywhere?
I might have to go back and watch that.
You don't have to watch much. Probably like about a 15-second sequence.
Yeah,
I can probably just find it on YouTube.
Yeah.
And ordinarily, I know we ask people for their thoughts. Never really have I went and asked anybody specifically what their thoughts are about the movie. But this time I did, because, again, Dr. Clayton Forrester is the name of the main character of War of the Worlds.
And
we happen to know a Dr. Clayton Forrester personally.
Dun, 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 dun.
Pretty cool dude.
Yes. I emailed Trace the other day, and I asked him, I said, I am really sorry to bother you, because I always feel like I'm bothering the Mads when I ping them. I asked if he remembered what made them choose Dr. Clayton Forrester for the name of his character on Mystery Science Theater. And the answer was just really simple. They all really loved that movie and thought the name just popped for the character. And it did. Like, Clayton Forrester is kind of a cool freaking name. Even if you're not familiar with MST, not familiar with Trace, it really is just a cool name. And again, Gene Barry was not a bad character. Clayton Forrester was cool.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. He was interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, I got to have kind of a nice conversation about the movie with Trace. And he told me that there was a British version made recently that wasn't bad either. And this one was a period piece. So I'm kind of curious to see that one too.
Is that the show or is that a new movie?
I don't recall.
Because I know there's a current show that's out there that started in 2019 and it's still ongoing. We're not going to be talking that show, but
is that the one with Gabriel Byrne?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. I didn't really look too much into that other than it's still airing, and it only is basically War of the Worlds in name only. It has really nothing to do with the books or anything like that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
I don't think
Weird
that'd be the
name
one he was
ripoff.
talking about, because he was talking about it like it was a pretty decent flick. I want to say it's on Epix. I need to go check that out.
Oh, that's the new show then. That's the 2019. That's what's on Epix.
Okay, so then that's not what I'm checking out then. Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's all we had for social media this week. I want to thank everybody for letting us know and answering and whatnot. But again, I want to thank you to Trace for taking the time out to talk with me about it. And again, really sorry for bothering you, sir. I'm always sorry for bothering you guys.
Oh, you're fine, dude. It's okay. And just to confirm with you, that is the Gabriel Burns is that show. And it just premiered. Its season 3 premiere is September 12th. And looks like you can maybe watch that off of like your premium subscriptions on Prime or Sling or whatever you have. But if you're looking for these movies, if you're looking for the 2005, go to Pluto TV. It is on demand. You do have to put up with commercials. However, if you want to watch the classic, it is on Amazon Prime. If you have the membership, it is free.
I'd go for that one. Plus, no commercials.
They had the remake on Paramount Plus. That's where I watched it.
Okay.
I watched my DVD of the original because they didn't have it on Paramount Plus until I started watching the new one today. So I'm like, fucking thanks, dicks.
I actually watched my Blu-ray from Criterion of The War of the Worlds, and that is simply beautiful to watch it that way off of the disc like that. But I did watch a little bit off of Prime just to catch a couple clips here and there, just to like spot check for some quotes and fun things. So it's on there. It's free, and you can definitely watch it that way. And if you like what you're hearing and you're definitely down for more War of the Worlds this month, we got the 1980s classic TV show that got canceled after 2 seasons. Yes, we are subjecting ourselves to that one as well. And stay tuned. We got some fun movie short reviews we got coming up where it's Mars Attacks month. So you can expect some Mars Attacks. You can expect some other fun content coming your way.
I love that we could say that now, because this won't come out until after we film that anyway. So
Spoiler alert.
We're not spoiling anything.
Make sure you check us out on all of our social media platforms. We got Facebook, Twitter. We are at Suns and Shadows. We're also on Instagram at Suns and Shadows Cast. We are at sunsandshadows.com. Thank you again, everybody, and we'll see you down the road.
This movie, I lost my train of thought again. What was I just saying? Edit this part. What was it? What were we just fucking saying? I lost it.